Showtime. Hello, everyone. We are live. This is Ariel Serber. I'm with Greta Yulish. I was in Israel a couple weeks ago and had the pleasure of meeting with Greta on maybe the hottest day in Tel Aviv that has ever been in the history of the world. Um, but we were in Serona Market and we were talking and having a nice conversation, and she was telling me about the different projects she's working on. Obviously, Israel is the startup nation, and Greta's working on projects to support the entrepreneurs and the ecosystem in order for it to be the scale-up nation. So, Greta, why don't you introduce yourself, give a little background, and then we'll get right into it. And thanks for
Yeah,
joining.
yeah, of course. Thanks, Ariel, and thanks for having me here. Really happy to have this opportunity. I'll start with a quick introduction of myself. Right after school, I started a firm that was providing localization and interpreting services, and we grew fast to 10, 15 project managers, a big network of freelancers and clients like Philips, IKEA, major airlines, manufacturers. We ran pretty big cross-border events with top-tier interpreting and equipment. And after 3 years, I merged the company with a category leader. And so today, I'll skip to what I'm working on today. Most of my work is around this idea of scaling up. And when I say scaling up, it's not just about how companies grow, but what it really means for Israel and for the ecosystem as a whole. And how we move from being startup nation, which we've already proven, to building companies that last and create jobs and lead globally. And I'm also building a fund/venture studio together with a great team. The vision is to take teams with breakthrough ideas, mostly in deep tech and AI infrastructure, and give them the tools that they need to succeed and to scale. And the real edge that we bring as a team is the go-to-market using our personal networks to open doors and to make the growth happen. Other than that, I'm also obsessed with the future of search, which is essentially the future of internet, which is why I'm building Answer 43, an AI visibility tool that helps brands show up in LLM answers.
Yeah, that's cool. And there's a lot to sort of like pick out and dive a little bit deeper on. I do want to go back to when you started. What led you after school to be an entrepreneur, and how was it in the ecosystem at that time? And maybe then we can talk about what's changed since and how it's evolved since then.
Sure. So when I started with we talk about 2006, and if I have to speak about how I came out to be an entrepreneur, I think to be honest, it's in my DNA. It's the family that all starts with a family. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, and
Hmm.
probably the most unsupportive environment you can think of, which is Soviet Union.
Yep.
Um, my grandparents started with a small business from scratch, when private companies were barely even legal.
Sure.
And over the years, that small beginning grew into what came out a family office with a portfolio of commercial real estate. And so for me, it was what I saw at the dinner table, the hustle, the bias to action, which never felt optional. It was like the only mindset. If you want a future, you don't wait for it, you build it. And so it stayed with me. Um, and the second question was about the ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
So as I said, it was early on when I started, and a lot of things have changed. And I think it's fair to say that the ecosystem has really matured over years. We've always had this great mix of talent and ambition and global mindset, and hunger, that's really hard to match anywhere else.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
that's
I
what.
think I think I think it turns out that you were a good match for this ecosystem because of the bias to action and also the sort of idea of like this is the only there are no other options and this is all we have to do it and we have to do it ourselves and figure it out and solve these problems. It sounds like kind of a you know you don't talk about founder ecosystem fit a lot. You sort of talk about founder problem fit, but um, I think there's a good founder ecosystem fit in general in Israel, and based on what you're saying and what I've seen. So what are the limitations though, or what have been the challenges that have uh, sort of created the I don't know if it's a mindset. Maybe you could speak to that about why things they seem to scale to a degree and then they generally sell to the Googles of, and it's hard to say no to $30 billion of Google or $7 billion from Nvidia, but you know, what can take things to the next level?
So I'd say it's a mix of things. It all starts, of course, with the right founders mindset. And I think that we see more and more shift in that mindset. We see more and more founders that are looking into the ways to grow and looking into how they can become the leaders in their categories, instead of planning out the exits early on. So this is one, and then of course the investors, which are playing a huge part in this. That in order to give those companies not just the right infrastructure and tools and support, but also to be able to wait, which can be longer than planned. Um, and the whole infrastructure, of course, the regulation, the tax support, the infrastructure, energy. I mean, there's so many things that need to be fit for in the whole ecosystem for this to happen.
Right. And it also seems like it's sort of I wouldn't say self-imposed, but it's just the nature of the market that Israel itself has, which is small. So it in a sense it needs to be uh, looking out at Europe and America and Asia as major markets for those companies. Even the businesses that you said you were working with are all outside of Israel. So how do you foresee that challenge being overcome? I guess also now we're in a much more it's much easier to be in touch and with WhatsApp and everything, but still like it's good to be like even like a company like Wiz relocated to America, right? So how can that be managed and sort of uh, worked
Yeah,
out?
absolutely. You need to be as close as your customers as possible. Um, it's not a question, right? But still, we see a lot of very successful examples of big scale-ups that came out of Israel and stayed in Israel, and were able to make this work with first of all the R&D hubs, R&D centers that obviously are located in Israel for many reasons. And it's okay to have sales and marketing teams abroad wherever the customers are. The question is less about the location, but about being the identity of the company, which has to in my opinion stay Israeli.
Okay. So how can that be achieved? That mindset, yeah.
I'm going to speak maybe a little bit about what we've done
Sure.
in order to move this forward. It started basically at the university with Professor Niron Hashai, the Dean of Artisan School of Business, and Erez Ezra, the head of Strategic Consulting, when we asked ourselves, what does it really take to scale? And then we started digging into it and talking to experts from academia and private sector, founders of scale-ups, and we built this MBA course that was essentially built around 4 pillars, which is finance, strategy, people, and execution. And when we speak about finance, it's unit economics and striving for profitability, which is independence, and it's part of how it has to be done. With balancing growth with the rule of 40. And strategy of having clear market and product bets, and focus versus extending all those decisions. And the third pillar is people, culture, values, and organizational design that scale and execution. Part of it, is the knowledge and the tools that we strive to provide. We started with the course, which is for the future leaders, and then we followed on with a practicum, where Reichman and NYU students, together with the private consultants, worked hands-on with around 30 Israeli scale-ups. And the big lessons we took out of there was scaling is never done. You always have higher goals. And today we're launching more and more initiatives to keep this pushing this forward, which is the ongoing programs to support the entrepreneurs and the conference, and etc.
Yeah. So let's talk about the conference. It's happening next week, Sunday and Monday, right? And what's interesting is, so around the world, obviously, especially in America, Sunday is it's a day for football and church, but in Israel it's a work day. So it's a good way to start the week. If you're in Israel, I think checking out this conference is a great idea. We've left the links in the comments, and obviously reach out. But why don't you tell a little bit about what the goals of the conference are, how it came about, how you hooked up with Reichman, and all this other good stuff.
Sure. As I mentioned, the conference is just a part of this whole set of activities that we are launching, and as I see it, it's a national stage for scaling, which is the first time scaling up conference that is taking place here in Israel. It we're very excited about it. We have founders, investors, corporates, and policymakers all in one room. We'll hear from NVIDIA, Wix, Story Cyber, Israel Innovation Authority, Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, top operators, investors. We'll speak about the AI obviously and how it influences scaling, capital markets, regulation, policy, leadership, real tools you can use. So yeah, it's a very exciting event.
Absolutely. How did it all come together? And sort of, can you talk more about maybe the team you're working on, or maybe some of the speakers that'll be there?
Yeah, sure. We're gonna have the Israel Innovation Authority's CEO Dror Bin with a lecture about the landscape of the ecosystem and how they see that the ecosystem is really maturing in terms of companies that are scaling up, and more Israeli companies that we see are starting to buy other companies instead of just being bought. And we'll also have NVIDIA's Israel country director, Nati Amsterdam, who will be interviewed by Yoel Israel. Also, very, very, very exciting interview. Lots of interesting questions that are going to be raised, especially now that we've just seen this earnings call that NVIDIA has reported last week, and we've seen the role that the Mellanox acquisition played in NVIDIA's success today. So really very interesting interview. We'll also have several panels, a panel on regulations and capital markets, and a panel on AI and its impact on scaling up. Also very interesting to see. All we speak about in scaling up, especially when we speak about people, is changing a lot with AI. We see more and more companies that manage to scale up without growing teams too much.
Right.
Say the least, as we've seen in the recent example with Base 44.
Right.
So also a very interesting panel.
Yeah, and I think what you said before about not just building in order to be acquired, but building also to then be the acquirer. So that's definitely a transition. So how ready is the overall ecosystem for this transition, and how can this kind of go smoothly? What's sort of your vision around that?
I think that the ecosystem is pretty mature already. If you look at the numbers of 2024, we saw record funds raised. I think 12 billion, if I'm not mistaken, and much of it was growth stages, right?
Yeah.
So it's something that we've never seen before. And the next thing was also the M&A deal sizes, which also reached 16 billion. I think that the ecosystem is pretty mature. And as I said, it's really great to see more and more companies being acquired by Israeli companies, which is, it's a sign of maturity, and
Yeah.
it's great for the economy. Companies staying here, staying Israeli, although opting for exits. So yeah.
Yeah. And when you say exits, you're talking really in terms of being acquired and not exiting via the public markets, because that would still retain its own, you know, its own ownership and everything else. Um, so so what are what's been the feedback that you've heard from either founders or investors? And I want to focus on investors because you mentioned it's going to take a mind shift with the investment community as well. So maybe you can speak to what you've heard from investors on that and sort of how to align what they're after with what, with building this scale up piece of the ecosystem.
Hmm. So first of all, yes, we've obviously spoken with investors, and some of them were coming to guest speaking at the MBA course, and we were going for investors with that know what scale is, with several companies in their portfolios that went for IPO, successful IPO, and so I think that the mindset is already there. As I mentioned before, also from the founders' side, we hear more and more founders that are looking for, growing and. Not just planning the exit as soon as possible. And I'm not saying that exits are bad.
No, of course not.
Because first of all, each case is different, and there are companies that just so many factors, from founders being exhausted or already planning on to next thing, and investors, of course, we can't influence all of them, and there's so many questions around it. So and also exits are sometimes really good for companies. The only best possible outcome. It can be the case.
Yeah.
And also some, as we've just mentioned, the Mellanox and the NVIDIA acquisition. Some exits are also great for Israel, like Mellanox turned into NVIDIA's fastest growing division. That's what we know already, but also for Israel, it gave us the huge hub, and great interest, and many jobs created locally, and so it's also a great option. What I'm saying is that it's of course all about choice, and I think that both exits and long run scaling should be viable, and they should be options that have right to exist. But what I'm saying, that if you opt for scaling, and if you decide to grow, that to grow is what you're looking into, we want you to have all the necessary knowledge and tools and support in order to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think it definitely will come to and that's why I think your career arc is so interesting, because it's very much parallel, right? 2006 to now, let's just call it 20 years. Things have changed quite a lot. and obviously October 7th has changed things. How has October 7th and everything after also impacted this mindset and the shift that you're seeing in the ecosystem? If you can speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Um, so we've always had the all the necessary components for the ecosystem to be successful, like the talent, global mindset, the hunger, everything. But what we really saw after October 7th, and I think it's unprecedented, is this resilience with purpose. Um, Under horrific shock and unimaginable pressure, and with so many founders and team members being called up as reservists for weeks, sometimes months, the companies here still kept developing, shipping, selling, and supporting customers. And I think that's something that 100% the world noticed. Be it the investors, the partners, the clients, they all saw that, in the hardest moments, Israeli tech delivers. And it really became part of our brand almost overnight, which is amazing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And also then just to go back to what you were saying about the investors and founders and their mindset, I think it should lead to more conversations for founders to think about who are the right investors for them to take them sort of to those other extra levels, you know, especially in, as you said, the world of AI, it's a much different building environment than even a few years ago,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely, absolutely. Um, it's a completely different world that we are now, starting to observe, and it keeps changing really fast. It's really hard to keep track of it.
Of course.
Um, yeah, and I think that's also for founders, a lot has changed. Once the raising funds was almost necessary. Today, more and more teams are going for bootstrapping, um,
Sure.
which also, speaking of your question, which also gives them this uh, opportunity of, staying more independent and deciding on their own terms at their own times, how and when they want to grow.
Hmm.
And I hope so, and I think so that also for investors, this is changing the game somehow because they are not the only possible option anymore.
Yeah, and that control is really everything.
Right.
So controlling your fate from the start helps. It just helps that sort of decision tree down the road in terms of options. Who's on your board? Who's in your ear? Who are you? Responsible for? It's a very different conversation going forward, and maybe some of the exited founders can bootstrap themselves for longer and almost be their own investor, so to speak, so that the next thing they build and the team they put around them. And actually, that's one of the key takeaways and lessons that I've gotten from the Wiz story is that this founding group came from a successful founding group already that was bought by Microsoft. So they've been through that ringer before, right? So I think that's sort of what you're saying helps prepare this next round of entrepreneurs and founders, um, especially because They're looking at solving big problems, whether it's in health, finance, defense, cybersecurity, things that are truly scalable and have sort of, they're not like super niche, it's sort of like universal problems that companies, people, countries have.
Right.
So maybe talk to us about what's next for what you're building with the conference, because I really want to focus on the conference. I really want also everyone that's watching or listening to follow Greta, follow her journey in terms of all the things that she's building and that she's involved in. But what's next after the conference and for this? You're also kind of you're part of a team and you're putting together a team that's building something, right? You're not doing this alone.
Yeah.
So who else should we be following?
So as I've mentioned, my partners to this journey are Professor Neon Hoshai, the Dean of Arison School of Business, and Erez Ezra, who is the Managing Director of Clear Future and the head of strategy consultancy at Reichman University. So yeah, follow them, follow me. Happy. Yeah, so.
And what's next? Like, what's the call to action, the follow-up from this event? Like, what's the follow-on here?
First of all, what's next? We're starting with this conference, and we are already planning out the next activities for the founders and CEOs and executive leadership, which is the combination of learning, practical knowledge, and community, which is I think very, very important for this whole scaling up to be happening. And we have great CEOs of Israeli scale-ups that are with us, and I think it's very important for that we're planning for them to be the transitioners of the knowledge.
And the role models.
The role model, inspiration.
Yeah. Who are like the next few great scale-ups to be watching?
I think we have, we haven't had too many IPOs in recent years, but we have a big line of companies that are preparing and getting ready. I can just
name eToro just IPO'd, so that was one.
eToro just IPO'd, and I know that several companies are either planning IPOs and they already announced it, or just great companies like Vast Data that they also were guest speaking at our course, and Cato Networks, just Sayabra, just a few that I can name right away. So yeah.
No, that's perfect. That's great. Any other ways that we can support, maybe from here, if people are outside of Israel, like where I am in New York?
Well, it's great, to have your support here already, and if you just can invite people that that would be interested in attending the conference, that would be great. The link is here in the private chat. And just to wrap up a little bit, I think it's important to remember that first of all, scaling up is a great option that we have to consider. And it's not magic; it's really hard work. It's about the right mindset, starting early on, and about building the right foundations, really, really from the beginning, starting with the finance and right values, right culture, right execution and strategy. And for founders, I think it's just think bigger. Um, you don't have to scale forever, but I think that having this option in mind is very important. And a lot of things have to keep happening in the country in order to support scalers, and I think we're on the right track to make this happen.
Yeah. And it's important, I think, for the community to get to know each other, go to these kinds of events, support one
Right.
another,
Yeah.
have obviously buy-in from stakeholders, especially in a small country with, uh, like you said, the policyholders and policymakers and legislators and regulators, all of the above kind of have to be on the same page, pushing in the same direction. So thank you so much, Greta. Please go and follow Greta and all the work she's doing, and maybe all the companies she mentioned and the people she mentioned. Maybe we'll put together a list of who to follow, what are the next steps to take as a kind of follow up, because it doesn't just stay here; it has to move, and be the friend that invites a friend to the event, to the conference. Tag someone that should go. If you're going, bring a friend along, like Greta said, and you'll have a great time. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. Have a great day, and good luck with the conference and everything beyond.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye bye.
You too.